KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your Smart Mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, what is going on? This is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. This is episode 68. You're chilling with us here live on YouTube, coming at you with the audio version. We are here on September 2nd, recording this on 2021. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Listen to some wrestling talk while you get down with the Labor Day weekend. And, yeah, that's that, man. We're going to get into some wrestling talk. We're going to do our news, some overrated, underrated. But first, before we get into all that, let's talk to Mr. Eric Todd. Eric, what is happening?
Oh, you know, same old, same old. Just chilling like a villain over here with my dog and my son. My son and I just on a constant mission right now, Brian. I think we're going to become pro bowlers.
Pro bowlers. You guys picked up the bowling during the summer months?
Yeah, but we made the mistake. Last Saturday night, we went to we live in kind of a small town and small towns all around us. And we went a little bit north up to a town and went bowling on a Saturday night at 8:30 at night. And that place was just wild, cosmic bowling, just packs of people on either side of you dancing and jumping around and having a good time. And then I think that's when I realized I'm just a cranky old bastard because I did not have a good time.
I want to go bowling on Sunday morning when there's 7 people, have a cup of coffee, and not talk to anybody.
Precisely.
There you go. Well, enough about bowling. Enough about everything else. I want to talk some wrestling. What do we got on the docket this week? What are we going to talk about? AEW? Anything else up there?
Nothing too exciting this week in the wrestling world.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Rampage. Punk was on there, but he didn't really do anything significant. I did watch AEW Dynamite, so we will definitely talk about that. And also, there was a ton of news that went on this week.
All right. Well, it's not officially news until we hit the ticker. So here's the ticker, and let's get some official news. It is the news. From Eric's desktop to your ears, here is the KayFabe Smart News. All right. What do you got for us? Lead us off.
All right. First things first, a little bit of sad news. This happened just today, I believe. It was confirmed by Shimmer that Daphne Younger had passed away. It was either a day or two ago. She had made wrestling news in the internet wrestling community because she made a post on Instagram, and she was kind of giving signs that she might be suicidal, and a lot of people were concerned about that. And turns out, as of today, she had passed away. If you don't know who Daphne Younger is, she's best known for her time with WCW for 2 years between 99 and 2001. She won the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, and then she did some time with TNA from 2008 to 2011.
Yes, I remember Daphne. Didn't she have that little run in the gimmick with David Flair and Crowbar and those guys in WCW at that weird time of WCW in the 2000s?
Yeah, that definitely was a weird time in WCW, but she did run with David Flair and Crowbar for a while. So she had her niche. She had her pockets of huge fans. Not really mainstream known across the world, but definitely in the wrestling world, Daphne Younger will be missed.
Yes, she hasn't been around for a while, but I remember her screaming, and sad news, especially if it is confirmed that it was suicide. That's terrible. Talk to your friends. Be there for somebody.
Yes, definitely. And then in positive girl news, the Iconics, Brian, my favorite female tag team of all time, the two Aussie smartasses, the Iconics are officially free agents now.
I saw that, and then they also released a scantily clad picture of the two of them that was making its rounds around the internet.
Yeah, Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay, previously known as Peyton Royce and Billy Kay, have definitely been taking care of themselves since they left the WWE, and they showed it off on Instagram. and they are officially free agents. They debuted their new name. They are no longer the Iconics with two eyes. They are now Inspiration with two eyes.
Well, of course.
So they're working on their work visas so they can figure out where they're going to go next. But I'm hoping it's AEW, Brian.
I just hope it's somewhere on TV for them. They were entertaining. They drove me nuts. I necessarily wasn't the biggest fan of the Iconics, but I was not. They didn't have, as we like to tease and call, X-Pac heat. I didn't just not care that they were on. I hated them because I was supposed to hate them, so they were doing their job to annoy me and be the Iconics and do their stupid little gimmicks. But, that's their job, and they did it right. But so I hope it's somewhere at least on TV that can be seen, which I guess essentially means WWE cut them, so they're not going to NXT or WWE, so it's AEW, because as we've discussed, nobody knows how to watch Ring of Honor, and nobody knows how to watch Impact.
Oh, yeah. Just to clarify, it's not AEW in particular for who's in charge or the other talent on the roster or anything like that. It's strictly so I can at least watch their matches, because if they're on Impact or MLW or Ring of Honor or NWA, most likely I'm not going to get around to watching their matches. And then also to agree with you, they are terribly, terribly annoying, but that was incredibly entertaining to me. I've watched their Iconics annoying the shit out of people for 5 minutes videos on YouTube, and I just think it's funnier than shit. But either way, I'm sure pretty soon we'll figure out where Inspiration is going to be headed.
Yes, inspiration. Give you the inspiration and the perspiration. What's up next on the news?
Next on the docket here, Bryan Danielson might be making an early entrance into AEW. A report from Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net says that former WWE champion Bryan Danielson will be making his debut for AEW at the upcoming All Out 2021 pay-per-view. The report notes that Danielson's debut was possibly moved from Arthur Ashe Stadium to All Out instead because of COVID-19 restrictions in New York City.
Oh, yes. New York City is still 100% basically shut down, which is weird to me. That's a whole other topic. But I guess I didn't know that there was what the rumor was about Bryan Danielson coming to AEW. So saying that it's early to me was like, when was it late? I didn't know when the next date was. So it had missed my eyeballs that when it was officially supposed to be happening. I just assumed within the next 4 to 6 weeks I was giving it. But it might be in about the next 4 days.
Yeah, it was I know it was just heavily anticipated to have it happen in New York City, but they were kind of left in the air of where to debut him. But instead of waiting for they're not going to do it at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York. Rather than waiting for the perfect show to do it on TNT, I guess it's just a pretty good idea to do it in Chicago in front of that all-out crowd and on pay-per-view. I can't think of a better time for him to debut.
Yeah, why not get the rumor spread now and have everybody double up and get out their $49.99 and get that pay-per-view?
Yeah, no doubt. And then she wasn't retired already news? Awesome Kong appeared during Saturday's NWA Empower pay-per-view. Kong revealed that she is done in the ring, and it was Gail Kim who brought her back. Both Kim and Kong hugged. Kong has worked for Shimmer, Ring of Honor, WWE, TNA, Impact, AEW, and All Japan. So she's been around the world. I didn't know she was still active.
I was bored on Sunday night. I didn't watch the women's one on Saturday, the NWA, but I was bored on Sunday, and I watched that NWA pay-per-view on Sunday. It was okay. It was pretty good. Ric Flair was there. He came out ranting and raving, and they just kind of gave him an open microphone and time. He talked about Vince McMahon. He talked about Triple H. He said he loved them all and this and that, and it was interesting. You could clearly tell he had no guidelines because he was all over the place.
And at the NWA 73 pay-per-view or whatever, John Goodman of Roseanne fame actually did a voiceover or something.
He did.
I didn't watch it. I just saw
He did the
something on the news.
He did the intro for the whole thing where he's talking about being in St. Louis and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, this is Dan Connor talking. I know it's Dan Connor. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah. John Goodman everywhere, man. I've seen his videos on TikTok where he's doing like Burger King commercials and shit from like 1973. The guy's been around for a hot minute.
He's been around the world.
Speaking of people who have been around for a hot minute, Jim Ross is rumored to be taking a step back. Over the last weekend, there was a report from Ringside News saying that Jim Ross would be transitioning from the full-time lead announcer for AEW and then starting to do more behind-the-scenes work and sit-down interviews. Jim Ross responded to this rumor, though, by tweeting, "It's news to me." So apparently this is a dead-end rumor that got started. JR says there's no truth to it. He didn't know if this is going on. He had no idea it was happening.
Yeah, same thing I said about CM Punk. JR's an old school carny. He's got this business in his blood. Everything's kept under his hat, literally. So he could be bullshitting from bullshit. He's a bullshitter from way back, so you never know.
Speaking of JR bullshitting, a little teaser, there'll be more on that later on in the broadcast. So stay tuned if you're really itching to hear how Jim Ross bullshits us.
What? Any big news going down?
I don't know, Brian. How serious are you about $6,000 Jordans?
Oh man, so serious. I got a pair in my cart.
Because old Road Warrior Buck, Matt Jackson, got ran for his sneaks. Somebody stole his $6,000 Dior Jordans from the Ontario International Airport. They were a special gift from his wife. He filed a police report and everything. So yeah, whoever did that's a scumbag, but kind of funny if you hate the Bucks.
Did they run him off his feet or did they run him like out of his bag?
No, they just got stolen. He didn't get jumped or anything cool like that, but they just got snagged, and he's pretty pissed about that, and understandably so.
Yeah, understandably so. Maybe you just keep it under your hat a little bit that you got 6,000 Dior Jordans in your bag while baggage handlers are doing it, or why don't you, put them in your carry-on so they don't leave your side? Little
might
things
be a good idea.
I don't know. Call me crazy.
Adam Cole is officially a free agent. A new report from Fightful Select has revealed that Adam Cole has not re-signed with WWE and is 100% a free agent. WWE sources also indicated that Cole is expected to field offers and that he was not at SmackDown last Friday and was not meeting with Vince McMahon, as many people had speculated when he canceled his live stream. So Adam Cole, his whereabouts or his intentions of where he's going to sign are kind of up in the air. Britt Baker keeps kind of teasing towards it. She had a big announcement with Adam Cole on Instagram, but that big announcement was that Adam Cole didn't have any cavities.
Oh, well, that's good news. I'm glad to hear that. I was worried about his teethers. Let's be honest. He didn't not re-sign with WWE because there was no offers on the table. From the rumors, being spread around, there was plenty of offers on the table. So he didn't want to work there anymore, or they weren't offering him the right stuff.
Right.
So
not enough creative freedom, cash creative. Aren't those the two C's?
You want one or the other. So if he's got enough cash already, he might just want the creative right now. So he might be willing to take a hit, but get the creative and go to AEW. WWE has recently been, pardon my French, shitting on independent wrestling talent and saying that we don't want independent wrestling talent. Well, kind of where Adam Cole cut his teeth and made his name of who he is and crept his way up through the independent circuit to the, mainstream, through the Ring of Honor, New Japan, and all that across the board, all the way to TNA and then carrying that flag for a while. So maybe he's like, screw you guys. You don't want the little guy? You're going to talk shit about other little guys? Like, maybe he took that personal. I don't know. Maybe he just like you said, he either wants cash or creative, and I'm assuming WWE gave him the cash. They said, but we control the creative.
Or it could be something completely just arbitrary that he wants to be with his girlfriend and his buddies over in AEW.
And then you got
Who
that
knows?
going
It
on
could be
too.
something simple.
And his buddies are going to give him creative, and his girlfriend will give him, I guess it starts with a C.
And more sad news, Brian. We're going to kill the mood again because that's what I do. Rikishi, his niece, was murdered back at the end of July. Rikishi took to Twitter to ask for help and information that could help in capturing the person who murdered his niece.
Jesus.
His niece, Jada Tofiono, who was just 16 at the time, was killed on July 30th in a shooting, which also wounded an adult female. The San Francisco Police Department is putting up a $50,000 reward for information leading to the identification, arrest, and conviction of the individual responsible. Rikishi tweeted on the subject, "Need your help. They murdered my niece in the Bay Area, 16 years old. Jada Tofiono. Please help find these motherfuckers. Check it. Spread the word."
Those Samoans run deep, too. That headbutts you.
Yeah.
Like, don't let them catch you. That's the Uso Penitentiary, son.
So whoever shot his niece better hope the police find him before Rikishi or one of the 637 other Samoans find him, or he's fucked.
Yeah, because they all know each other. If they don't know each other, they're related.
CM Punk squashed some rumors of AJ Lee returning to the ring. Apparently that speculation's been circling around, but CM Punk responded by saying, "I want to say no just because of her neck. The reason she stopped wrestling is because of her neck. I wouldn't want her to jeopardize her health, and neither would she. So we'll put an end to that rumor right now. So no AJ Lee anytime soon, at least."
We might get an AJ Lee as a valet type person. She doesn't have to get involved physically in wrestling. There's been lots of people involved in wrestling that have never even been in a ring or been in a wrestling match, right? So, with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if we see her. But with the limited travel schedule that AEW offers, especially to a guy like Punk, maybe you don't even need it. He's just got to go to work on Wednesdays and Fridays. Like, he hops on a plane from Chicago, decent little airport running through there, hits anywhere in the States, hops on a plane the next morning or that night, and he's back to living his regular life. Easy peasy.
Yeah,
he's not living on a bus or in a car 328 days a year.
Getting staph infections in his butt cheeks, just to make those damn dates. But then a little bit before we move on, just a little bit of NXT news going on. Brian Alvarez revealed that he has heard from sources who tell him NXT will be produced by Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard going forward. Dave Meltzer reports McMahon and Pritchard will have control over the big decisions concerning the direction of the brand, but little decisions will be decided by someone else. Now, many people have wondered where that's going to leave Triple H, who has pretty much been running the entire NXT brand. And WrestleVotes on Twitter updated that Triple H, Shawn Michaels, William Regal, and Matt Bloom. Is that Prince Albert?
Yeah.
Isn't that Matt Bloom? Yeah. So Matt Bloom will all continue the day-to-day operation, but the look and feel of the weekly show will be overseen by Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard.
Listen, I'm a Vince McMahon fan. I'm a Vinnie Mac guy. He's done a lot. I might shit on some of his product every now and then, but what are you going to do? I like Bruce Pritchard. I love his podcast. I love the things that he's produced over the years. But what made NXT is that it wasn't SmackDown and Raw. It was an alternative within the same universe. So now having that put together by having these same guys that produce your other TV shows produce the third TV show, I don't know, man. It's just going to be like more of the same. Cool. I love peas, but I don't need it every single meal for every single day of my life. Like, I want a little different flavor in it. So having Triple H and these guys mix their ideas in was something new and fresh and a little different for me, and that's what I liked.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's two ways this could go. They could either try to make it like a mini Raw or a mini SmackDown, or they could go back to the way NXT was before they kind of started signing indie stars and whatnot, kind of go back to an OVW feel or a Florida Championship Wrestling feel, where it's almost like a school, and they're just almost training these guys and getting them ready in front of small crowds for the big time. So I don't know. It'll be interesting if it goes back to the old NXT style. I am kind of sad. I like seeing the indie guys go at it, but yeah, I hope it just doesn't turn into a shittier version of SmackDown or Raw. Basically the same scripts with shittier actors.
Yeah, that's what I fear, is that it's just going to be a watered down or a different, the same thing we already get over here. And I just don't know if I'm going to dig the vibe of it. I like the idea of putting somebody else in charge of it and having it still be under Vince's, watchful eye, but letting somebody else run it, whether it be Triple H or whether it be a Paul Heyman or whether it be whoever. But not my company, not my business. I just get to sit and watch it and talk smack about it on the internets.
Yes, for sure. And to wrap up the news this week, a little more NXT news so we can get a little bit of a feel of the changes come forth, the kind of guys and gals that they're trying to recruit here. WWE released the new class of recruits for NXT, and I'm going to introduce them to you right now. First things first, we've got Joseph Fatu. He's a member of the Nwa family, 240 pounds, and he is also the brother of the Usos, Jimmy and Jey Uso.
Yeah, I've seen him fight on, I think I watched some MLW a few months back. It popped across my YouTube and caught him on there, one of the baby Usos. So we've got another Us coming in, and the Samoans run deep, and Vince either owes somebody money in the Samoan family or he just loves the style.
And if you love the Samoans, make sure you head over to our TikTok. There's a little video up on, I commented on NXT signing Joseph Fatu, and I thought they should have signed Jacob Fatu instead. And you can either be Team Jacob or Team Joseph if you head over to our TikTok and comment on that post.
Sound off in the comments. Make sure you guys follow us on all the social media platforms where we're talking about it. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and join us live here on YouTube every week, Thursdays, around 9 o'clock. We put it up, we get going, and you can hang out with us while we record it live. And we're going to try some social media lives, too. We'll try a little Facebook or maybe some Instagram and TikTok lives. So hang out with us, the KayFabe Smark, on all social media platforms. Back to you, Eric.
Of course. Click all those likes, make all those comments. But second, in our little class of recruits we've got here, we've got Bobby Stevenson. He wrestled for the University of Minnesota and is also the brother of 2020 Olympic gold medalist Gable Stevenson.
So there you go. Stevenson. So they don't want independent wrestlers, right? That's the big thing that they're making, the comments are making. So are we looking at like actors, models, professional athletes that didn't make that next cut or got cut or something like that? Is that who we're looking to bring into professional wrestling now?
From this list of recruits that we have right here, which is just a small sample of what's to come, but it looks like it's either athletes or second or third generation superstars, excuse me.
So you can technically be an indie, but you got to have a foot in the door of, like, because Jacob Fatu's been, or not Jacob Fatu, but the other one that you just
Joseph.
said, Joseph Fatu, sorry. He's been on the indie scene, so he's technically an indie wrestler, but he's got the look that they're looking for. So you can be an indie wrestler, you just got to be a giant dude.
Right. And then we got Jessica Nilco. She is from she comes to the Performance Center from the world of gymnastics, bodybuilding, and CrossFit. So she's an all-around athlete. So they will be happy to mold her into what they want the next NXT girl star to look like. We've also got Brady Booker. He is a 6'3", 245-pound former middle linebacker who played at the University of South Dakota. And then we've also got Ben Buchanan, who is the son of Bull Buchanan, if you remember that guy.
Yeah.
And he was also a high school wrestling standout. And then finally, we've got Joshua Dawkins, the nephew of basketball legend Daryl Dawkins, and he was trained by Devon Dudley.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're going to go to the well, you go to the best, most full well you can, and you go to Devon Dudley and get your shit tight over there. Devon will teach you good. cut you up, blade you up, put you through a table that's on fire, covered in thumbtacks.
Yeah, you'll definitely come out tougher working with Devon Dudley.
I can only imagine.
And that's going to wrap it for the news. So if you want to hit that ticker, we can wrap that up.
It is the news. That's it. NXT being run by Vince and Bruce Pritchard. Not sure how I feel about it. Not because, well, just not sure how I feel about it, but we'll move on. And while we'll move on, it is time now, Eric, for us to play our little game we like to call Overrated, Underrated. So now we got an official little sweeper we're going to hit you with, and then we will start the game.
Let's play Overrated or Underrated with Eric Todd.
We got
Me.
our official Ben Bailey knockoff, our Walmart Ben, giving us our Overrated, Underrated with Eric Todd. This one we're going to do character evolutions or changes, however you want to look at it. So, start you off first here. You'll get the gist. We have Steve Austin. We have Ringmaster to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Are you going to overrate or underrate that change?
I think that was overrated, Brian. I think he could have made it as the Ringmaster. No, of course, it's underrated. Without Stone Cold turning into Stone Cold, he would have been underneath the boat that was carrying Stunning Steve Austin. So that promo he cut on Jake Roberts at King of the Ring, that did it for him. The Stone Cold moniker that he got from his aunt or something to eat your dinner before he gets Stone Cold. That was just the biggest thing to ever happen to Steve Austin. So Ringmaster to Stone Cold, underrated.
100% underrated. I gave you what we like to call a softball on the first one. Get you an idea what we're talking about here. Now this next one gets a little deep. We're going to go The Undertaker. His transition from the Dead Man Undertaker to American Badass Undertaker, then back to Dead Man. How are we rating, overrating, underrating these transitions? Really, Dead Man to American Badass. You can talk about the two. Dead Man to American Badass and American Badass to Dead Man. We overrating, underrating these things.
All right, so I think this kind of melds into one pot here. Undertaker thought he was doing something groundbreaking, something revolutionary by switching to the American Badass, and that kind of went over like a fart in church. His little collaborations with Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit and all that. So that part was overrated. I think he kind of swung and missed at that. But the fact that he did accomplish two things by that. He shook things up, changed the look so the Dead Man Undertaker didn't get too stale. And he held on to the biker gimmick long enough, and he realized that it wasn't as over as he thought it was. And he was smart enough to transition back into the Dead Man. That decision in itself was underrated. So even though the transition to American Badass was overrated, that part was necessary for him to freshen up the Dead Man. So the experience overall, Dead Man to American Badass, back to Dead Man, the entire transition was underrated.
Look at that. Took us on a little tour of the brain cells there, broke it down, put it back together, and it came out in an amazing little fashion. Overrated, underrated, Rocky Maivia to The Rock.
That's another Ringmaster thing there. Rocky Maivia, WWE had high hopes for him, bringing him in with the wet curly hair swinging all around, and look at me, I'm super baby face, and I've got the $1 million smile, and I've got Rocky Johnson in my bloodline, I've got the Samoan family in my bloodline, and it was just a complete flop. So The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson, being allowed to be himself and be a smartass and thinking quick on his feet, he kind of made his own path. He kind of blazed his own trail right there and transitioned himself into The Rock. So him having the balls and the brain to do that, completely underrated.
There you go. That was another gimme. I knew that one was coming. Here's one that's going to throw you off maybe a little bit. Surfer Sting to the Crow Sting in WCW.
See, this one is a little tough, Brian, because I wasn't a Crowelo. I didn't really follow Crow Sting, whether he's in WCW or he was in Impact or TNA. So for me, it was overrated because I didn't really care about Crow Sting. I loved bleach blonde surfer Sting, Hulk Hogan wannabe Sting. That's the Sting I loved. But as a whole, it freshened up the character, and this was the one that stuck. It stuck almost like Dead Man Undertaker. So I guess in the whole grand scheme of things, Surfer Sting to Crow Sting was underrated.
All right. I didn't see that one coming. I figured you were going to overrate that one. I know you're not the Stanger guy, but, it has to be said. And then let's do this one here. You've got Mankind, and then you've got his evolutions through the other characters that they drew out of that to Cactus Jack, Dude Love, and then the evolution to just being straight up Mick Foley.
Oh,
Little deep. You can kind of play with this one.
I'm going to stick to personal on this one. I think it was overrated because it was overkill. It was just too much. I think Mankind still just regular ass Mankind before he turned into goofy Mr. Sacco Mankind still had plenty of years, plenty of room to grow. They could have did so much more with Dark Mankind. I think the Cactus Jack comeback was completely necessary, so I would have worked that in there somewhere. You can do that with a split personality with Mankind or whatever you want to do, but I think the thing overall was just too much, and even though it got us to know the real Mick Foley, I think the whole transition from Mankind to Dude Love / Cactus Jack to goofy Mankind to Mick Foley, completely overrated.
So now I'm not going to lie. I know you're a Mankind or Mick Foley mark, so I saw that one. I thought you were going to make it work and you were going to stretch it around, but you came out hard with the truth on that one. Overrated, the Mick Foley transitions. Really, they just could let Mick Foley be who he was, and it was just fine. They didn't need to really spice up what he was doing. He could go out there.
You could have put Mick Foley in the Red Rooster gimmick, and he would have made it work.
That's what I'm talking about. And one more just for fun. Let's talk about One Man Gang to Akeem. Where are we at here? How do we stand on One Man Gang to Akeem?
I think that is completely underrated.
Oh, underrated.
Akeem was the fucking man. And the fact that character didn't get over, which is, I'm being serious. I loved Akeem with every beat of my heart. Him and Slick were the dynamic duo, whether they're dancing in the streets of Chicago with burnt out garbage cans behind them. Akeem should have blew the fuck up. One Man Gang was great, but Akeem was legendary. And if you search around hard enough on the internet, probably like 15 years ago, I made an endurance video of Akeem dancing and Slick laughing or something like that for about 15 minutes straight.
Just think of the world we live in today, and you have a giant 400-pound white man claiming to be the African dream.
I love it.
That would go over
an
like
identity crisis.
That would go over like a fart in church in 2021. I mean, you want to talk about it didn't get over in the late 80s, early 90s, whatever it was. That ain't happening now, straight up, period. But we'll move on. We had some fun talking about your character transitions. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Overrated, Underrated with Eric Todd. I got to make an outro version of it because in the first one it says, let's play. So I felt you hovering over the button, and then you hesitated, and you were like, "Yeah, right now is not the time." No, I got to come up with a second one. I didn't think of an out portion of it. Like we have to bring us in. I love the in, so I got to reword it for the out. So we'll move on from there. Let's talk about AEW. I assume.
Yeah, let's flip the script and go to a little AEW action.
All right. Well, I'll give you as a go home show. AEW sucks.
I don't know if it's just Tony Khan. I don't know. I know QT Marshall is in some sort of producer fashion. He puts the shows together and it's all done through text message. This isn't bullshit. QT's confirmed this. But yeah, it is just, as a go home show, this thing was hot garbage.
They don't know how to sell a go-home show. I don't think they understand what this means. You put all this work into the storylines that are supposed to blow off this weekend at All Out in Chicago, right? I mean, they've been building this thing up, coming to a head now. And they just left you hanging, like, with what's happening. Like, I mean, we'll talk about it all. I know we're going to break it down, but some of this shit didn't make sense. Did it make you want to buy the pay-per-view at the end of it? The short answer to all this is no, it didn't make sense, and no, it didn't make me want to buy the pay-per-view. But let's talk about the first match and break this thing down a little bit.
Yeah, just to touch on what you said. So to set up everything for the pay-per-view coming up, it seemed like they would need 3 hours of TV. They didn't have 3 hours of TV, but somehow, some way, Brian, they made 2 hours of TV feel like 5 hours of TV.
Yeah, and I think that they forget that they have a third hour now on Fridays.
Right,
like,
tomorrow,
yeah,
they could do some more.
Like, just okay, what happened? Let's talk about
basically, this thing sucks so bad. I spent 2 hours hoping it would end. We're gonna start with the first match of the night. Somehow, I don't know if the Young Bucks didn't attend the production meeting or what, but FTR got the Young Bucks spot for the opening match, and FTR faced Santana and Ortiz. I originally wrote Proud and Powerful because that's what shows on the Contron, but they are introduced as just Santana and Ortiz now.
All right, so let's break down Santana and Ortiz real quick. They came out, this is the go-home show. They came out facing FTR. Why this wasn't saved for Sunday, like you get them back, don't ask me, first thing, but let's break down. I think that Proud and Powerful needs to be told you can't do the face paint, war paint gimmick on free TV. If it is on free TV, it's got to be big fight free TV, right? Not
that would be just
match.
Like telling Penta that he can't wear his Joker costume on free TV.
I mean, he did change it. We'll talk about that. He did change this week. He had his dry cleaning back. I just think it's a little thing that needs to be have some consistency to it.
Yeah, no doubt. The face paint should be a pay-per-view or big match type thing. Also, I agree with you that this match should have been saved till Sunday, since we did have Dax Harwood touting left and right that this may be FTR's final match. Why you wouldn't save that for the pay-per-view is beyond me.
Sure, it's because nobody tells them what to do. It's free reign on social media, and you can just come out and wear whatever the hell you want, and it doesn't have to make sense for a story.
But yeah, we'll get into this thing. This was the best part of the night right here, was Dax and Cash versus Santana and Ortiz. We got Dax and Santana starting out super technical. Lots of holds, lots of reversals, but still fast-paced and very smooth. You know these guys are pros that we got in there. Santana and Ortiz, they've really serioused up their characters over the past years, months, whatever, but they still like to do the goofy shit now and again. When Santana and Ortiz take control, they start off with stereo topes, double team drop kicks, cannonballs into the security gates. They just go completely ham and take us out of the context of a real fight feel here. But Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood managed to tie that up rather quickly and get us back to where we belong. Cash Wheeler and Ortiz are the legal men now at this point, and Cash is selling the hell out of his arm. I can't tell you if this is a work or a shoot. That was a pretty bad cut on his arm. He had to get like 23 stitches or something. But supposedly he doesn't have feeling in all his fingers yet, but he was cleared to fight. But he's also selling it like he's still cut wide open. So I don't know what to think of this Cash Wheeler injury.
Yes. So with that being said, quick out of the pocket booking here. This should have been a match that they were challenging for. And then they say, listen, he's not cleared to fight. Like, sorry. It should have came out. Proud and Powerful comes out. FTR comes out. Cash isn't with him. Sorry, man. He's not cleared to fight. They say, you get a partner for Sunday. It looks like he has no partner on Sunday. And then, boom, surprise, I'm back, bitches. I might not be able to feel my pinky, but Cash is in the house, right?
Right.
That would have been an amazing little thing to put together.
It would have been fantastic. And once again, out the butthole booking from Brian is better than what we get on TV.
I'm just thinking off like they just gave it away. But go ahead, we continue. This match, I didn't find with the nonsense that was mixed into it. It was just for what it could have been and what it should have been. It wasn't what it was just crap. It wasn't very good.
Right. I guess I'm just marking out because we never get to see FTR.
Oh, 100%.
Especially with Cash's recent injury, we never get to see FTR now. But FTR still working heel, super sneaky tactics, working super underhanded. Even though Paul Turner is the ref, Cash Wheeler keeping things real, making sure that Paul Turner.
Yeah, you you paused for it. I was gonna hit it the first time, and then I didn't want to step on you.
Turner's a moron.
So even though Paul Turner, the moron, is the referee, Cash Wheeler does keep it real, making sure Turner doesn't see him while he keeps sneaking over to the corner to untie the turnbuckle and pull that off. Santana at one point gets a very lukewarm hot tag from Ortiz. FTR helps that by constantly feeding Santana, just running at him and letting him knock their lights out. Santana tops the comeback off with three amigos, the suplex combo. Crowd finally gets back into this match. I was kind of sad because this is FTR, goddammit, and the crowd really was not into this match. A lot of double team moves and pen attempts, lots of frustrating pen attempts where you legitimately thought this could be the end of the match, and they just kept kicking out. So it was frustrating, but in a good way.
Right. Here's my other question about these two teams. Are there still the Pinnacle? Are there still the Inner Circle, or is there still the Inner Circle and Pinnacle? Do these factions still exist? Are these things still relevant?
And that's a great question to raise because I imagine they are, but not once during this match and not once during this 2-hour broadcast, I don't think, Brian, that we heard the name Pinnacle or the name Inner Circle. So I couldn't tell you. With AEW, they could have just canceled both factions yesterday for all we know.
Yeah. All right. So I was making sure I didn't miss anything. Clearly, I didn't miss anything. It's just MIA at the moment.
Right. To wrap this thing up, Santana and Ortiz go through a flurry of double team moves and end up pinning Cash Wheeler flat on his back in the middle of the ring. So I personally don't think this is going to be FTR's final match because I don't think they would just kill the guy who just got a ton of publicity and a ton of eyes on him by ripping his arm open on the ring hook and just completely shitting on him and beating him flat 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, they just didn't have any build up for me for this, and it was the match we all wanted, but we just didn't know we were gonna get it. Right? You needed a week, 2 weeks, a couple days to tease it out and make it look like it was gonna happen, and get ready for it. Sit down, make sure you got your phones charging. You're over here, you got your drinks, you got a snack, and you're gonna watch Proud and Powerful and FTR, and all of a sudden you just you turn on AEW, you come back from the bathroom, and holy shit, they're wrestling. What's happening? I didn't know this was going on. That's where I stand on it. That's what took me out of the match. It was a match I wanted, but it was just given to me at the wrong time.
Yeah, absolutely. No build up to this thing. Just pretty much we didn't know what was going on with Cash Wheeler. Then all of a sudden Dax Harwood's like, hey, he can wrestle technically. So, next week we're going to fight Santana and Ortiz. And it just seemed to happen. I think they relied on the heat from the injury that had nothing really to do with Santana Ortiz. And that heat didn't work for anticipation and buildup by any means.
Right. 100%.
We get a promo from 2.0 and their buddy Jerry Garcia. They deliver a passionate promo for sure. I'll give it to them on that, but they still haven't caught my interest. I know these guys were somebody over in NXT. I forget their name, but all the screaming and yelling they do, and they haven't caught my attention yet.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say beyond that.
Very 80s. What if you were to say like, hey, go to an improv class and go, you're a professional wrestler. Now, how's your match going to go on Saturday? And that's how they, what somebody thinks a professional wrestler should sound like, and that's how they deliver their promos. And I'm going to tell you, very like Hogan and Macho Man-esque from the 70s and 80s and all that jazz. So I think they need to work on that. Maybe they're just trying to bring back a old school feel, but cringes me out, and also makes me laugh, but makes me laugh at them, not with them.
Right. FTR, I guess they're kind of in the same vein of old school wrestlers, but Dax and Cash are wrestlers. 2.0 and Jerry Garcia just seem like guys that are acting like wrestlers.
There you go.
CM Punk makes his way down to the ring. A little bit of Mr. Personality over the loudspeaker there. And Punk, man, he can cut a promo, and he can have the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand and just puppet them to do whatever he wants. Cuts a short promo, working the crowd, and gets them into a "you still got it" chant. And you could tell by the look on his face, he was working the whole thing. The whole thing was in his head.
He is the puppeteer, and we are his puppets. He can make us listen. He can make us happy. He can make us angry. He knows how to work the crowd. He knows what he's doing. There's no question. No question.
So we go from CM Punk right back to AEW booking. Punk's promo gets interrupted by 2.0 and Jerry Garcia here. And apparently Darby Allin was in the back feeding his gigapet or something because Jerry Garcia and his buddies 2.0 had to beat up CM Punk for a very uncomfortable amount of time.
Wasn't
They
even
were
the fact
dragging that.
It wasn't even the fact that it was uncomfortable. It was simply the fact that they came in, they did their run-in, they jumped Punk. Punk, folds up, protects his head. He's just laying in the ground, taking a beating. And essentially, if you watch 2.0 and Jerry Garcia look down the ramp and then, pause for, it's a snap of the finger second, but it's like, and then they just go back to putting in work on Punk, and then all of a sudden the music hits and you get Darby Allin and Sting that casually walk to the ring.
Yes, very casually. Not a sense of urgency to be found. Sting and Darby walk down to the ring. They beat up 2.0 and Jerry Garcia. We get a coffin drop from Darby. We get a Stinger Scorpion death drop from Sting, and then a GTS from CM Punk. And the ring is essentially cleared so that we can get our stare down from CM Punk and Darby Allin to build up our match for Sunday. Stinger gets the mic, talks up both guys. They're both ready to go. Sting's going to hang out in the back for their match. And we wrap up this whole segment of the show with another stare down between Punk and Darby. And I don't know. When I look at these two, I almost see a teenage boy staring up and trying to act tough to his abusive stepdad is almost what I see there. From the stare down, it doesn't seem like Darby Allin has a chance.
No, I was mad at this for a moment. I'm going, why would you come save the guy you're going to fight? And then it was put into perspective. It was stated in a way that, we want you. I think Sting maybe even put this in his promo, or as the commentators. I don't remember, but it was reiterated once or twice. We don't want anything to say, that this is why you didn't beat us or we beat you because of this. We want everybody to come in fresh and healthy to have a match. And that's what saved them. That's what saved this thing for me. Otherwise, I was hating every second of it. I'm like, why would you do this? And I'm like, of course, you'd come out and be friends. But they didn't. Then they didn't shake hands and they didn't raise their hands. They didn't, interlock arms and raise arms together. They just stared down and said, all right, I see you, but, I'm still going to beat you. And so that was, it all came together, luckily. It had the chance of being AEW'd.
Yeah, we've been conditioned almost for the past couple years here, or a year, whatever, that this is all inclusive wrestling. There's been so many rivalries and big matches that end with oh my God, buddy, you did a great job. Let's shake hands. We're both winners in this one. And that's what I was afraid of. But at least the feel, just like you said, Brian, was pretty much, no, we want a fair match. We don't want you dickheads involved. We just want it to be Darby Allin, CM Punk, face-to-face. And that's the way they kind of left it. So they did kind of save themselves at the end there.
They did. And even with Sting saying he's going to chill in the back and he doesn't need to even be involved in any of this, makes it even, that much better. Quick, while we're talking about this match, we'll jump ahead to a little bit of all-out predictions. Not a prediction on who wins or loses this match. One prediction, just an out there, this is a way out there prediction. Do you think Punk turns and does any heel turn?
No.
Not yet? Or not ever?
Not yet.
This would be a spot. I mean, all eyes are on him, right? He could do something, and then, as much love as he's getting from the crowd, imagine the heat that he could get when he turns his back, right? But that's a whole nother story. Where do you think they put this, though, with CM Punk in Chicago, first match back, 7 years? Where do they put this on the card? Do they open with it? They can't close with it.
I think they're going to open with it.
Open with it is, you're putting some energy in that room. I hate to follow that.
Yeah, but look what they did with Rampage with Punk's debut. That's how they decided they opened the show. They opened it with Punk, and even though it completely took all the energy out of the room, nobody had any energy left for the rest of the show. It was kind of necessary. So I see that happening with Darby and Punk here, just for the simple fact that they can't main event it because there's no titles on the line.
Well, they got the TNT championship on the line, but not anything of value, right? No, he's not the TNT champion. I'm sorry.
Punk and Darby.
Yeah, Punk and Darby. Yeah, so it's just them wanting to fight each other.
Right, so you can't use that as a main event. I guess WWE has done that before.
I mean, hell, they did it to Punk.
Title match.
They did it to Punk for years. He was the champion and didn't give him the headlining match at any pay-per-view. They still let Cena headline that bitch. But anyways, we continue.
Yeah.
I'm just curious where you think they're going to put it.
So I think they're opening the show with it. What do you think they're putting it?
I was going to say in the middle. Build it up. And then you got a lot. That way you don't have that's a lot of energy. I mean, Punk is it's gonna blow the roof off that place. It's gonna take 10 minutes for him to get the bell rang.
Yeah, maybe after the girls' match to bring the audience back into the show.
Is what I'm saying, yeah.
Back in from the bathroom or the kitchen or outside smoking a cigarette. Like, oh wait, CM Punk's on TV.
I would mid-card it, but that's just me. Put it in the middle of the card, but we'll see. We continue on talking about this.
We continue on to the Kenny Omega Christian vignette. And this right here, Brian, is where we get another lesson of Jim Ross bullshitting us. Because just a few little months ago, Jim Ross got a shit ton of heat on the internet because he said Randy Orton is the best wrestler out there right now. But during this little vignette, you get a voiceover from JR that says Kenny Omega is the best one-on-one wrestler in the world. Now, do you think Jim Ross really changed his mind and got convinced that Kenny Omega is truly the best wrestler in the world? Or do you think they were like, come on, Jimmy, we need you on this one. We need you to endorse Kenny Omega and get him over.
I think they said, Jim, we need you to come in and do some voiceover work. There'll be an extra paycheck in your mailbox this week. Here's the script, and go ahead and read it. And he went, well, fuck it. Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega is the best one-on-one wrestler in the world. Or maybe it was simple. Hey, Jim, you work for AEW. Maybe you should say an AEW wrestler is the best in the world.
But I don't believe that. Go
you want
fish.
that con money, don't you?
You want that con money. Get conned out of your money is what's going to happen. Okay, we what moved on here or what transpired?
We get a pre-tape with Tony Schiavone and MJF, and MJF just goes, this is the MJF I love. The fucking scathing heel promos he can cut. Talks up Jericho for a minute, goes through his 4 different decades that he's been involved in the business, goes through his nicknames, and then flips the script, compares him to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali just kept coming back for fame and turned his brains into mush and his body into a shell of what it used to be. And Chris Jericho's doing the exact same thing. And MJF is here to put a stop to that.
And yeah, he cut a hell of a promo. He made you feel every second of it. And I'm sure it was edited together to be even better, but, why not? Why not do that? You have the technology and the time and everything else to go with it. So I say I loved it, and draws me in. This was a selling point. This draws me into the pay-per-view. CM Punk's thing draws me into the pay-per-view a little bit. So they did have some spots that were bringing me into the pay-per-view, that were leading you down the way. And then they had things like FTR and Proud and Powerful that just give it away. So they were just conflicting themselves.
And it's very obvious here that Chris Jericho still has a ton of control in this company. He's got Tony Khan by the balls. He's got something on him, because we got this. It was a great promo, don't get me wrong, from MJF. Just going ham on Jericho, cutting him down. And then I thought that was it. That's what we're going to get. That's our buildup for this. But then we get an equally long promo from Jericho later on in the show. And they spent a ton of time of this 2-hour broadcast on Jericho and MJF. And to be honest, with MJF being 3-0 against Jericho,
what's the
it's
draw?
not really a big, exciting match to build up to, I don't think.
No, because does anybody believe that this is going to be Jericho's final match? This is where it ends?
No, absolutely not. There's no way he's going to lose.
Yeah, it's unless they throw a super curveball, but then I still don't believe it's his last match. So you can call it that, but then they'll do some old Macho Man reinstatement bullshit, right, and get him, bring him back, or he'll change his name or something. It'll be something dumb. So I'm Chris Irvine now. Chris Jericho had his last match. You silly goose. So I see him transitioning at a time to a commentator, because he does a good job when he's focused on it. When he's over the top, it's annoying, but Jericho does a good job at commentating, in my opinion. So I see that happening, but I just don't see that happening now. It's not the right time. None of it feels right.
Right. None of this feels right, and they spent way too much time promoting it on this show. But we're going to get back to the in-the-ring action, Brian, because we've got this big match. We've got Orange Cassidy versus Botch Evans, and this thing. I only watch this match just to watch them stumble and be awkward and just fuck each other up, and I wasn't disappointed. Before the match even starts, Matt Hardy attacks Orange Cassidy before the bell. Bryce Rimjob ejects him using his highest pitch bitch voice I've ever heard come out of a referee, and that includes Aubrey Edwards. He's just like, hey, you get out of here. You stop that.
You stop that. That's not nice.
And Matt Hardy just listens to him because apparently he's a bitch. And so we got Jack Evans. At one point, he's supposed to be delivering body knees to Orange Cassidy. He's hitting him in the fucking bicep, Brian. He's giving these weird knees to Orange Cassidy's arms. And you look at it, and Evans isn't even paying attention. He's looking around at the crowd while he's giving knees to Orange Cassidy's arms. We get Jack Evans again. Anytime there's a spot with an Irish whip involved, he's swinging about 2 feet above his head, and he's kicking about the same height because Orange Cassidy's scheduled to duck. Well,
Orange Cassidy's.
How about you just swing at his fucking head and you tell him to duck?
It says duck. It's right here. I don't know. You can see I got the sheet here. It says duck. Yeah, they're definitely running a step-by-step. But you didn't do this. But you have to do that first. And there's no calling a play, an audible on the play. Like, all right, change a game. We're doing this instead. It's just, you didn't duck. I'll wait for you to duck, and then I'll swing. Even if it's 20 seconds later.
It was just sloppy, and he's swinging way above his head anyway, so he doesn't even have to duck. Tony Schiavone gets some passion in his voice at this point. Unfortunately, he's only getting passionate so he can explain Orange Cassidy's fake kicks. A, if you have to explain a joke, it's not a very good joke.
Yeah.
And B, we understand the meaning of Orange Cassidy's kicks. It's just a tired gag that's been done way too much. And if you thought it was funny the first 12 times, it's good luck thinking it's funny the next 150. Schiavone he really got his heart into it. They're not supposed to hurt. They're meant to mock you. We get it, Tony. They just stink.
We get it. It was funny in the beginning. I loved it in the beginning. I did. I love the kicks. I love that little, but here's where it turned for me, is it never turned into anything else. It was never used to prove the other guy wrong, or to prove that he's that much better than the other guy. Like Shawn and Triple H in their little suck it stuff and all that jazz, and acting like 15-year-old teenagers, and that whole gimmick was funny because then when they went to the ring, they could turn it up their A game and put on a show. So if he wanted to be that guy during promos, and he's like meh, 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 being that teasy type thing, it could work, but he never puts on the clinic though to follow.
Again, characters like Triple H or Shawn Michaels, they could fake kick you or, fake slap you or whatever because they're taunting you, because they're basically telling you I'm better than you and I can taunt you because I'm a bully. The whole meaning behind Orange Cassidy's is I just don't care. So look, I'm going to give you fake kicks because I really don't care about this match.
Yeah.
And you're the perfect candidate for this one. You were a big fan of Cassidy when he first started, and you thought that bit was funny, but it just gets old. It was a indie wrestler bit that was meant to be done at a different flea market every weekend for a different audience. But this is the same 900,000 people watching the same show every Wednesday with the same jokes. It's going to get old.
Right. It's when my kid tells me a funny joke and I laugh because she hits me out of nowhere and does something funny. And then for the next 20 minutes saying the same thing over and over again. And I just tell her, you need to go work on new material. You need to go work on your material, go to your room, and come back with some new jokes. So that's what Orange Cassidy needs to do. He needs to go to his room and come back with some new jokes because you need some new material, kid.
Right. Yeah, you need a new audience or you need new material, one or the other. I hope he goes and tries to deliver the same jokes to the Impact audience. That would be great. But this match, Brian, it accomplished something that I don't think any other match in AEW history has ever accomplished. Do you know what that is?
The crowd officially all fell asleep.
No, this match got me to watch during the entire picture-in-picture break.
Oh, yeah. Well, probably the second time, though. You fast-forwarded it through the first time, didn't you?
No, I actually stayed the first time because as we go into picture-in-picture, I kept watching because at the moment we go into picture-in-picture, we've got these two fetal alcohol syndrome survivors just awkwardly crawling around on the turnbuckle for a legit 90 seconds, 2 minutes. They are just awkwardly and slowly crawling around each other. And the big pop off to this whole thing of them fucking around on the turnbuckles is Jack Evans rolling off of Orange Cassidy's back and then sloppily pulling Cassidy off of the turnbuckle and dumping him on his head. And it was just, it was unfathomable. I'm at a loss for words, Brian, of how stupid and awkward and meaningless that entire spot was.
Not only on free TV, are we risking lives, but we are risking lives on free TV during a commercial in picture-in-picture.
Now, it could have been done with a nice, safe German suplex. I wouldn't want Jack Evans German suplexing me. But he didn't even do that. He just pulled him off and dumped him right on his head. So, yeah, he's essentially trying to kill a guy during a commercial break. Now, this is where things get hot, Brian. We're still in the picture-in-picture commercial break. Orange Cassidy ends up beating Jack Evans with a small package during the fucking commercial break.
Now,
he wins the match during a fucking commercial break.
Yes. Now, we had spoke about this when they started doing these pictures-in-pictures. NXT, AEW, they were both doing it for a while and still are. And I was saying, do you think they're ever going, I remember talking about this, like, do you ever think they are going to put anything significant to happen during the picture-in-picture so people don't fast forward through it when they are DVRing this or going back through and we're watching this? And we were both thought no, like, nah, they'll never do that. And so do you think they did it here, or do you think that Dummy got dumped on his head and it hurt and he called an audible and said, man, we're taking this thing home right now?
I don't even think it was that put together, Brian. I think this is just a bad referee and two bad performers who didn't know their ass from a hole in the ground, didn't know the timing of the match. Nobody's communicating, and they just thought, oh, this is where we take it home, right, guys? And just terrible timing on all fronts. That's where I'm putting all my chips on this.
Sure, because I've heard them come back from that in AEW one time. The camera was a little close, and you could hear the ref go and like give like a trying to break him up from the turnbuckle, and you hear him go, "We're back, we're back." So like you can stop like kind of doing these tie up in the corner holds or walking around the outside of the ring, and you could hear the ref say, "We're back, we're back." So bad communication from production. Or probably a little bit of bad communication from production, but there's probably some bad communication inside the ring, and and maybe Orange Cassidy took a bit of a stinger too, and nobody knew what to do. Just nobody knew what to do. The whole thing was just thinking on the fly, and this is what you get.
Yeah, because simply I think even if they needed to take it home early, if Cassidy got hurt, they could wait 30 more seconds till they got back from break and then wrap things up for the actual TV show. So yeah, it was just I think they were put in a position where they lost track of time and they just didn't know what to do, and this was the result.
This is the result, and wasn't good.
So what we do get on the actual broadcast is the afterbirth of Matt Hardy coming back to beat up Orange Cassidy. Apparently, was that Bryce Rim job earlier?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently his voice didn't ring true enough to keep Matt Hardy away. Matt Hardy comes back to beat up Cassidy. The best friends make the save, but then they are beat up by Team Hardy. Then Jurassic Express come down and clear the ring. And this entire segment, Brian, was a steaming pile of shit from beginning to end.
Oh, and everything in between. This is the old Stink A. Rooney. Stink A. Rooney. This thing all day long. And I didn't really care about it to begin with, and I didn't care about it. And then the only thing that made me think and remember about it was that how it ended during a commercial break. I can't let that go.
No, I can't let that go. We get a Miro Kingston promo here, and Eddie Kingston takes pretty much what should have been just a flat promo, and he Kingstoned it up and actually made it semi-interesting. Turns out the meat of the matter here is that since Miro has taken a lot of DDTs and that seems to be his weakness, Kingston has come to the conclusion that Miro's neck is his weakness, and Eddie Kingston will be going for Miro's neck this Sunday at All Out.
You got to walk through hell, or I'm going to make you see your God, and you're the God. And Kingston, you want to talk about selling a pay-per-view? We were talking shit about this a little bit because they were going to fight last week on Rampage, and we're like, that's a gimme match, right? But they did it right. He came in. Eddie Kingston strong as shit. He gave Miro a German suplex last week, tossed him in the ring. I mean, there was probably some cooperation from Miro, but made Eddie Kingston look great. They handled the match in a brawling fashion, and it got put onto a pay-per-view. So they did something right there. Kingston cuts this promo, and then Miro's promo was just as good to follow. And so I think this whole thing was put together very well and makes me interested for this match.
And once again, Miro gets the Most Improved Player award. Just came in a steaming pile of poop. And he's really turned it around. This whole chosen champion thing from the gods. Miro's the man now. I love this change. Completely underrated.
Underrated. Yeah, we should have gotten to that character transition. And Eddie Kingston, I'm sorry, I have no faith that he's going to win the match, but Eddie Kingston doesn't need to win matches to be over and be good. He draws you in, and you still go, shit. He almost had it. Son of a bitch. He'll get it one day.
Kingston's one of those guys that Bruce Pritchard would talk about and say that he doesn't need a belt to get over. If anything, it would weigh him down. And he don't need any more weight on that bubble gut. He'll tip forward. We got Jim Ross in the ring, and almost seemed like Jim Ross was tearing up at this point. I don't know if it's just his allergies or his old age or what, but he introduces his best buddy Jericho to come. Jericho, another guy where I'm over Jericho, but the motherfucker can still cut a promo, and he knows how to get the crowd into it, and he loves the word shit, and he puts all the emphasis on the word shit, especially when he calls MJF a piece of shit, and the entire crowd explodes and starts chanting piece of shit about MJF.
Here's the thing about Jericho that I think needs to happen. He needs to change his wrestling gear, because he looked like $1 million last night. Like, he came out and doesn't look like the Jericho in his tight leather pants when he comes out to wrestle. He was in clothes that fit him, and again, somehow, some weeks he has a bloated belly, and other weeks you can see his abs. Last night, he looked like you could see, like he looked strong and fit and lean, and then he puts on those leather pants, and his hair gets all dry, and he looks like a piece of shit out there. He looks like a washed up Motley Crue member.
He looks like Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler at the end of The Wrestler.
It's garbage, but like last night he didn't look like that. I can't figure him out.
The only thing I was going to poop on him for was his jacket. You had all the spots for spikes on his shoulders, but you had one spike. And I don't know. I don't know if that was a tribute to Umaga for the Samoan spike or what. But one Spike Jericho is what they were calling him last night.
One Spike McGillicuddy was his name. He cuts a hell of a promo, and again, he can make you listen. Now, they were calling this an interview because they had Jim Ross come down. Yeah, interview was a loosely used term.
Yeah, it went about as well as Shivani's interview with MJF. Anytime Shivani tried to get a word in, MJF just cut him off. Jim Ross didn't even bother trying. Jericho kept him involved by, Jim, or thank God for Jim, or Jim was there for that. You know, he kind of let us know that he was still in the ring, but this by no means was an interview by Jim Ross.
Negative, not at all. This was, and he wasn't even a human mic stand. He was just went and stood in the corner and waited and then said, all right, I guess I'm done, and left.
Jim Ross looks fly, though, man. I like those shirts that he wears where he rolls the sleeve and it's red on the inside of the shirt. Jim Ross be looking fly now. He's lost some weight. He's looking a little older, but he's in pretty good shape and he wears very fashionable clothes that fit him.
Yeah. I'm digging that shirt, that style that he's got going on for him. That damn cowboy hat that he can't get away from. I don't think he even likes it, but he has to wear it now.
Yeah, you can't get rid of that thing, or you won't sell any more Under the Black Hat books.
Yeah.
You have to start selling on top of the orthopedic sneakers. Those shoes did not go with his outfit. I don't mean to sound like RuPaul on fucking.
He went for comfort.
Right. He definitely went for comfort, for looks over on the feet gimmick. Speaking of gimmicks, we got a nice gimmick match here with Brian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs. Rick Knox is just letting them brawl and beat the living shit out of each other outside the ring before the match even starts. Again, just in true AEW / Rick Knox fashion. Doesn't matter if you get hurt, handicapped, disemboweled outside the ring. As long as your corpse is between the ropes, it's an official match, and it goes ahead and starts.
Yeah, it can't start until you're in the ring. Doesn't matter what happened before it. All that, I didn't see it. He just stands there with his eyes closed. He goes, I wear a blindfold until the bell rings, and then I take it off.
Yeah, I'm surprised Powerhouse Hobbs didn't just, shoot him in the head and roll his body into the ring and pin him. And look at that, Powerhouse Hobbs wins. But most of this match was just the epitome of slow and clunky. But it was impressive and entertaining to watch these power moves be done on such big opponents. Both of these guys are absolutely humongous, probably in the 260, 270 range. And watching these guys work and do power moves to each other, especially Brian Cage doing that suplex from the outside apron and suplexing Hobbs into the ring. That thing looked fantastic. But that was about all I got out of this match. It wrapped up with Hook. And Hook, just the sight of him annoys the piss out of me. I don't know if it's supposed to or not, but I hate Hook. He distracts Rick Knox so that Ricky Starks could smash Brian Cage in the face with the FTW belt. And it's a wrap on that. Powerhouse Hobbs gets the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that sucked. I thought that they shouldn't have won. The power moves were very impressive. These two big guys, what they can do to anybody, and then they can do it to each other. It's a spectacle, right? You're putting on a spectacle.
Right.
2, I'm going to be honest with you. I know you're not a Brian Cage guy. I'm not claiming to be a Brian Cage guy with this comment, but what I'm saying is I think he's a better babyface than a heel. I think he has better chances of I'm not saying some spectacular run. He's not going to be the next guy. But he'll have a better opportunities currently as a babyface than a heel. And then the last thing on this is, if you're so good and Brian Cage sucks so much, why do you got to cheat to beat him? What does that do for the story?
What does that do for Powerhouse Hobbs, who's still relatively new in this game? I know you want to heal it up and cheat to win, but I think a clean victory over Cage would have really helped Hobbs here.
This is like when I go back to my proud and powerful comment. Heels can cheat and be heels. That's going to happen. Proud and powerful can paint their face and go to war. That's going to happen. But it can't happen every week. In every week, the FTW crew, Taz team, cheats and does some dirty tactics.
And affects the end of the match.
Always. And you're going, well, like, it becomes predictable and the same shtick. You need to go work on your material.
Right. It's the same thing. It's just the indie mindset. And hopefully with some guys with true professional experience in there, they can start to break the indie mindset. And they've definitely got the cast to make a great television show. It's just they got to break that mindset of a different flea market every weekend.
100%.
Next, we get a Malachi Black vignette, and he is why they paired him with Shoddy Lee. Still can't tell you that one.
Yeah.
But he had mercy on Brock Anderson, and he had mercy on Cody, and he had mercy on Arn. But Shoddy Lee's not going to be so lucky. He's putting coins on his eyelids, and he's sending him straight to Hades.
Straight to Hades. So he's got pennies across the fire water river or whatever it was for your pennies that you had to take with you. I'm glad to see that they gave him a promo. We've complained about guys in AEW burying themselves, if you will, where they just don't show up on TV for weeks at a time and then come back with a storyline that we're expected to remember from 6 weeks ago that happened on a Monday night on AEW Dark on YouTube on their Instagram channel. like it just.
Don't you remember this? It happened on TikTok Live.
Don't you remember? You didn't watch it? Everybody was watching. So I'm glad that they give him the promo, keep the story going so you remember. Oh, that's right. If you're not going to have time to put for Malachi Black and Shoddy Lee to have an interaction, a promo so you remember that it's going down, and then you can put it in next week. That's fine. That's all you need. 20 seconds, 10 seconds. You don't need long. We have TikTok we have TikTok focus time, right? We can only sit and pay attention for 10, 15, 30 seconds as it is. So we don't need a 4-minute promo. We just need him to go, Malachi Black to pop on TV and go, I remember Shoddy Lee, and I'm going to kill you. And then that's all we need. Boom, move on.
Yep, we're keeping Malachi Black fresh on our minds, and yeah, he's definitely one of the guys you need to keep on TV, not disappear him for months at a time like they've done with so many of their other potential stars. Moving on here, we've got QT Marshall and his entire squad in the ring, and they're calling out Paul White because nobody laughs at QT Marshall on the ramp. Just come on into the ring with me and my 15 of my closest friends and laugh in my face. And stupid Paul White did just that. The entire squad attacks Paul White. Paul White beats them all up because
he's a giant.
Even though he moves like Andre in 1993, he still was enough to beat up the entire factory or whatever QT squad's called.
Yeah, the entire refractory crew. And then at the end of it, QT and Marshall and their buddies bolt out, right?
Yeah, Big Show scared the living poop out of them. And after the ring's cleared, that's when the Gun Club shows up. Billy Gunn and his two sons, and they stare down QT's squad until Billy Gunn chair shots Paul White right on the bad hip. And JR goes ahead and lets us know that the Big Show has a surgically repaired hip.
Did he say the Big Show? Because I missed that.
He definitely said the Big Show.
Oh.
And a lot of people called him out on Twitter on that. And he's like, oh, did I? My bad.
Leave him alone. Who cares?
It's funny to laugh at, but
to
go on Twitter and attack the guy for it. Exactly just what you said. Leave it alone. Who gives a shit?
They called him the Big Show for 22 years.
Anyone who's friends with him still refers to him as Show. His name is just Show. So you're not going to go ahead and change that and change what you've been calling him for 20 years just because you're on TV with some moron in a mask.
Oh, excrement.
QT squad ends up beating up Paul White some more, and Paul White's left looking like a big 400-pound pile of shit. And that's where we left that.
No explanation. We
Nope.
get no payoff, no nothing. Why did he do it? He just stared at him. QT stood there in awe on the ramp with his mouth open. Big Show's on the ground trying to get up with the Gun Club taunting over top of him. And then that's it. No, I did this because of this, or he paid me, or he said to, or I hate you. We have a past. Yada, da, 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 da. Personally, what I think this is to cover up a shitty match.
Yeah, I think that's a very big possibility because there's so many avenues you could have went with. I'm sure in 20 years in WWE, Billy Gunn and Big Show had some sort of interaction they could have capitalized on, or because there's no reason for the Gun Club to join the factory, so I don't really see that happening. I think it's precisely what you said. Big Show's not going to be able to put on the most stellar match in AEW history, so here's a good way to kind of cover up his shortcomings, smash him in the hip with a chair. But again, we're left with, why did Billy Gunn do that? but also it's not enough. Billy Gunn's not that level of a character in AEW where we're like, oh my God, I have to tune in to find out why Billy Gunn did that.
Yeah.
Really don't give a shit.
No. I think it's to bring the match to an even keel. It will slow. It'll give it'll give Show a reason to slow down. It gives QT Marshall a reason to get over and a way to become over on Paul White. So, it evens out the match. It's a little handicap in golf.
Right. Then we get a Britt Baker promo on Chris Statlander, and Britt Baker. This was just a kind of standard run-of-the-mill promo, but Britt Baker bakers it up. She kind of teases the Adam Cole thing with a big rumor of AEW signing a huge star. Star, of course, is Britt Baker herself, and part of her stipulation was that she gets put Chris Statlander in a handicap match against Reba and that other chick that just came back. I can't remember her name. Jamie Hayter.
Don't be a hater.
Moving on from that, we had Tay Conti taking on Penelope Ford. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch this match, Brian. There's a lake behind my house, and I had to go mop that real quick. And so I missed that match. But Tay Conti ended up winning. She caught a beatdown for winning, and Anna Jay came back.
Didn't know she left.
Precisely. We get a little mouthing off with some girls backstage there, and we end up in a little girl brawl between Nyla Rose, Thunder Rosa, and Jade Cargill, and that just leaves Thunder Rosa beat up and a stare down between Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill.
Yep. Cool.
And our main event of the night, might as well just end this thing with a complete shit show.
Oh.
And it was just a recipe for disaster at the beginning.
We got a little technical difficulty as Eric is slightly froze up on us here. Let's see if he comes back here. Remember to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and all of our social media platforms. Once again, all social media platforms. We've been getting a little crazy with our posting and staying more active on that. Join us in Facebook in the group. We got a little group that we're trying to build up. So join us on all social media platforms. And if you are watching the video version of this, Eric is frozen solid. He is probably still talking to us, and we will see what can happen. We shall be right back. I'm going to send Mr. Eric Todd a text message. You're frozen. Let's see what Elsa can do here. Oh, he has officially left us, and he will be back in about 2 seconds. If you're watching the video version, I look like a cyclops. Do 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 do. We shall be right back. He's back and better than ever. He's back. All right, we were getting ready to talk about the main event before you stepped out on us there.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened. My mouse wouldn't even move or anything. It was completely whacked out. So, where were we? Were we about to get into the
main event and
main event?
How much it was a letdown.
All right, so this thing was just a recipe for disaster at the beginning. We got an 8-man tag, Jurassic Express, accompanied by Marco Stunt with the Lucha Bros, and they will be taking on the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks. This thing, Brian, you had Rick Knox in the mix.
Of course.
So you knew exactly what it was going to be. It was just pure chaos. Rick Knox just standing in the ring looking dumbfounded the entire time. High octane, overly contrived spots, but it's very apparent, Brian, that this is what the crowd came for. They are completely eating this match up.
100%. There were some high points or some high spots in there that were good. I enjoyed some of the stuff. There were some low points too. And when I say high spots, I don't necessarily mean your literal term of pro wrestling high spots, but there were some of those in there as well. Some highs and lows. This match was ups and downs, but overall it just was lacking some meat and potatoes behind it. And it picks up a little bit at the end, but even then I still have a problem with it. So it was just missing something, and I don't know if I can quite put my finger on it yet.
I think it was missing glue to hold everything together.
Sure.
They needed something to keep it together, because what this thing played out as is just each one of these teams just kind of wrote down, all right, guys, these are the moves we have to get in. These are the moves we have to get in. These are the moves the Young Bucks have to get in. These are the moves the Jurassic Express has to get in. And then we're just going to go mesh them all together, and everybody get your moves in and get lots of cheap pops from the crowd.
Yeah, some continuity maybe and a little bit of consistency, or a little bit of continuity to tell that story. You're right. I think there was just missing something to hold it together and how to keep it going, why this was happening, why you're over here. I think that's what, I'm going to go with that for now.
Yeah, and if you just take it at face value for what this match was, it was entertaining, I guess would be the best adjective to say. If you were just there to watch spots and to watch flying tope suicidas, it was entertaining, if that's what you came for. And again, the crowd was into it. They really enjoyed it. But from a pro wrestling mindset, this thing was just insane. Whoever booked this thing needs to refill their Ritalin prescription and learn how to focus and calm the fuck down.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of those, those 2 C's we spoke about earlier, cash and creative. I think there's a lot of creative in the room and too many cooks in one kitchen, if you will.
And one more C that got involved that really shouldn't have been would be Cutler. Brandon Cutler. We've already got 8 people just going wild and doing whatever the hell they want to do. And we even had to put Cutler in the mix and spraying people in the eyes with cold spray and everything. Just completely unnecessary. This thing had enough going on without him coming in to kill the vibe.
100%. 100%. Do you want to break down any of the match, or do you want to get more to the end of this thing? Where are we at?
I really didn't pick out any individual spots that stuck out to me because it was soon as one spot ended, another one was beginning, and I really couldn't keep track of this thing. It would have took me a half an hour to write up this match if I broke down the individual moves that caught my eye.
I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%. There was a lot that happened. There was some cool stuff. There was some stuff that... So anyways, but the end is what they were the reason they had this thing, right?
And this thing, just a hodgepodge of horse shit coming to the end. So the Bucks end up getting the win, getting the pin with the Meltzer driver. Kenny Omega makes his way down to the ring. For some reason, his hair is blue now. Have you been watching the Elite or anything? To any reason why Kenny Omega's hair is blue?
I think it's supposed to be black, but yes, it came off with a bluish tinge. But I think I haven't watching the Elite, but I think they're just shooting back to when he was in the Bullet Club stuff, and he was that heel guy in New Japan, and he had black hair.
The cleaner.
And I think they're going back to, if you ask me, a shot back at Hulk Hogan and the NWO. The beard change signified bad guy with Hogan. So something like that, maybe. But that's about all I can put together.
Yeah, so Omega comes down. We get more beat down on the baby faces. Christian comes in to make the save, and he just ends up being another casualty, beat down with the rest of the baby faces. Kenny Omega just seemingly pulls this bit out of his ass. Is like, Tony Khan wasn't keeping an eye on his possessions. I know Don Callis has the key to the ring to bring it down. So Don Callis, bring the cage down.
Yeah, and then the cage starts lowering. You knew the cage was going to come into play because they had not spoke about it all night. They didn't have any shots of it at all, of the cage, right? When there's a cage match coming, they shoot it. They're like, no, the cage match is coming. You know, WWE does it. AEW's done it before. The cage match is suspended above the ring. It's coming later tonight. They hadn't spoke about it because it's up there for Sunday night. Cool, fine, whatever. Now they're coming back, and then all of a sudden they start talking about it, so it gets lowered. It got brought up earlier, right, in this match. Tony Schiavone said something about, what do you think about that cage match, or that cage hovering high above there, you know, you're keeping you guys out of this, and da-da-da-da. So then you knew it was going to come into play sometime in this match. It comes into play, and this goes down and breaks down like an old NWO, WCW going off of Monday Nitro takeover event. Like, it was just fell apart, where it was just, you had the antagonists in the ring for the heels of AEW being the Elite, and you never got the good guy. You never got the pop from, you know, at least WCW gave you Sting, right? Or there would be that whoever would come back, Macho Man if he was a good guy at the time, or whatever it was, Lex Luger. This was just chaos in the ring, everybody just not letting anybody in the cage, and then just beating up these guys, just throwing knees and 3 BTE triggers, you know, triple BTE triggers, and Kenny mocking them, but having no script, so he's just screaming, and he doesn't know how to be mean. That's why it's hard to take him as a bad guy, because he's saying things that he thinks should be said that a bad guy would say, and essentially what he's saying is things that are like an old cartoon character bad guy, like, see, we're bad guys, see, and I'm gonna beat you up on Sunday, see, and, you know.
It's like watching an episode of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, it's okay. So it just stunk on ice because there was no, and then it just went off the air.
Yeah, and to kind of touch on what you were saying, it kind of seemed like they were going for the NWO feel.
Sure.
You know, we're the NWO, and we completely dominated this, and nobody can get to us. But they're all goofballs.
But
the NWO had a serious feel. You feared Nash. You feared Hall. Hogan. Everybody was scared of bad guy Hogan.
Right.
You know, these guys are all just goofs. So when they act like they're the big tough New World Order and they just kill everybody in the ring and just leave bodies strewn everywhere, I don't know. There's not a real heel feel to it to me.
A real heel feel. Call him Dr. Seuss over here. So, but again, nobody came up through the ring. Nobody came down from the rafters. Nobody came out and was able to rip the cage off. Nothing. It was just to even go off the air with. Oh my God. You know, I remember Sting wouldn't make an appearance in an NWO takeover. I mean, it would be 3 hours of Nitro. Finally, the NWO is just going bananas, spray painting everybody, beating and murdering everybody with baseball bats. And at 10:58, Sting would make his appearance as he came down from the rafters, grab somebody, and it would go off the air at 11. And that's all Sting did. But, oh, my God, did you see that? Sting saved XYZ. Nobody came in to save Christian. Nobody came in to save the Lucha Bros or Luchasaurus or whoever was involved with this.
Nope, just a complete overworked, over-contrived ending that ended flatter than a plate full of piss, Brian.
It just stunk. It just didn't know. I just watched it and went, and then you just hear the commentators didn't go off with like urgent, like, we have to go. Oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. It was just like they hit the post. We have 3 minutes left. Excalibur did his read for the pay-per-view. JR said, we'll see you next week, or we'll see you Sunday. Have a good night, everybody. Like, they signed off of the show. Like, again, go back to NWO, WCW stuff. Like, Tony Schiavone and Eric Bischoff were screaming as they're going off the air, I can't believe we're going with this. You got to stick with this. You can't go. They're going to. And then it would go off the air, like, in the middle of a sentence. So you were just like, what? There's more happening. But this was like, the show's going to end as soon as we shut the camera off, guys. So, listen, make sure you tune in Sunday. They're done fighting. They'll stop. I promise. They're good. And they just treated you this is all just silly goose. So I didn't get what they were trying to prove with it. That's what took me back out of not giving a shit about the pay-per-view.
As heels, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are just incredibly try hard. They just overdo it all. And frankly, they're not the best at being bad guys. And they just come off as straight up tryhards. They're trying way too hard to make people hate them, and it's not working.
It doesn't come off natural.
Not at all.
And, you get guys, you go back to your classics, your Rocks, and your Hogan. Even Hogan had a hard time. Hall and Nash. These guys became so good at bad guys, they became good guys.
They were the cool bad guy, the Stone Cold Steve Austins.
Your Rocks and your Austins and even Hall and Nash, and for me, I would put them on there as like those cool bad guys that you go, you're supposed to hate them, but they were so cool that they became the good guys, and but nobody told them that this is the shift of your character. It just, the crowd took to them, and it had to change. Naturally.
Is the key word.
And it doesn't happen natural for the elite at the moment. They, as baby faces, naturally, you just go, well, son of a bitch. They're trying their damnedest, aren't they?
Right.
But as heels, you're like, you cheated. Well, that's because you had to.
Right. They're the Cobra Commander. They're just the overly character, goofy bad guy.
That's it,
try hard to the max.
Try hard to the max. Do you have anything left before we get into this? Next week, we're going to talk about All Out, I assume. We got to dig in to talk about that.
I assume so. I don't think anything groundbreaking is going to happen on Rampage, but if it does, we'll report on it. We'll obviously report on All Out, and then we'll probably touch on the follow-up show of AEW Dynamite if it's indeed on Wednesday. That might be when they're moving it to Saturday. I don't know. But either way, be prepared for an all-out, all-in, all-out shit show for us to review.
The All Out podcast coming at you next Wednesday. Make sure, again, all those social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, where we record this live on Wednesdays. On Thursdays, around 9 o'clock, we start getting things rolling, so feel free to pop in on the chat, join us there, and we can talk some pro wrestling. And that's that, man. Social media, all of the platforms, the KayFabe Smark on all social media platforms. Eric, what do you got for us?
All I've got left to say is one more thing, Brian, and that is hooty hoo. We out the gates.